So if you type delete on the command line in Linux, if this profile is being used, then what will happen is this Linux command will run instead. Okay, and this Linux command is echo, which says print out to the screen, error, try the command remove minus IV. That's the closest thing to the DOS delete command. All right, the same for the DOS move command. Try the command move minus IV. That's the closest thing to it. So instead of normally what would happen if we didn't have these aliases set, if you typed del on a file and tried to delete it, it would just say error, there is no function del, sorry. All right, but here we're trying to make the errors like a little bit nicer to, help the people that were used to DOS acclimate to the Linux environment. All right, so these are nice if you're coming from a DOS background. But you can see just how easy it is to set an alias. You can just say alias, you set the name that you want that you want to type at the command line, and then you give what you the definition of that command, what you want it to do when you type that command. So you can, with aliases, you can make shortcuts and things like that. So let's quit out of here. Let's go back and actually edit our local.bashrc file, and we'll set some aliases in here. So, like I said, you can set aliases for all sorts of things, like whether, and some people, I just noticed here at the very bottom of the screen, some people put all of their aliases into a file called .alias in their home directory. But you can see that the bashrc file will test to see if that .alias file exists, and if it does, then it will use the aliases in that file. You can also just put aliases directly right here. So, why do you want to type aliases? You want to save yourself some typing, or you want to put common commands in there that you use all the time, shortcut notations, things like that. One time, a friend of mine had a broken middle finger on his left hand, okay, and he had this big cast on his left hand. But he still, had to do computer work, right? So he couldn't type the D, the E, or the C on the keyboard like with his natural brain functions, okay? And so he just made a bunch of aliases that would sort of eliminate those letters for him. So he did things like he said alias exit equals quote double quote exit. Okay, and now he didn't have to type or use his middle finger to type the E, XIT for exit. He could just type XIT. Okay, so things like that are what you can do with aliases. You can make them as useful or as silly as you want. Some people put spelling mistakes in, like if they always, miss the dot between CD dot dot, so they'll say CD dot. Okay, so there's another kind of alias that you can put in to compensate for your own like poor typing skills. Well, the last way that I want to talk about that you can customize your shell environment is with the use of shell options. There's a command called set that's a built-in bash shell command, and you can set options with the set command. You can also just see all the options with set -o, and this will show you all the different options that can be set and what their current value, whether they're on or off. All right, so the names of these commands don't inherently mean anything to you. You're going to have to look those up either in the man pages or on some sort of a web page that explains what all these are. For instance, like the Emacs command is on. What this means is that Emacs style line editing is on for the command line. So I can use like Control A on the command line. That takes me to the beginning of the line. I can use Control K to kill a line from the cursor onwards and things like that. So all those things are on. If I wanted to turn those off, I would say set +O Emacs, and that would turn off Emacs style command line editing. All right, so this is just one way to, again, customize your shell environment. There's also an unset command. You can use the unset command to get rid of environment variables, like in that case when I said favorite food equals sushi. If I just wanted to get rid of that environment variable, I could say unset favorite food. Okay, so set and unset are both built-in commands to the bash shell, and they have to do with, getting rid of environment variables or setting these shell options. Now let's move on and talk about shell scripting. What we're going to do for the rest of this nugget is talk about the basics of shell scripting. We'll talk about variables and conditional statements and loops and testing conditions and things like that. We'll talk about how shell scripts take input and how you execute shell scripts, okay? And the goal of this is not that you're going to be some expert shell scripting programmer after watching this nugget, but that you'll understand enough of the basics, and I'll point you to some resources where you can learn more. So just enough, I just want you to learn enough so that you can read some basic shell scripts and kind of get an understanding what they are, and take away some of the mystery of shell scripting. So I've created an examples directory here, and down in this directory there's a few shell scripts that I want to look at. So I'm going to open up my Emacs window, and here's the very first shell script. I've called it test1.sh. Anything in a shell script always has to start with this shebang line, sharp followed by an exclamation mark followed by the name of the shell that you're going to use. And all of the shell scripts that you're going to see most likely are going to be either like bin bash or bin/sh. Okay, then after that there's usually some comments explaining how the program works. So if you're looking for a particular